Hello everyone, today we're learning mציעא Daf Hayomi. We're going to start 3 lines down. Tonu Rabbanon, Yisrael shelo v'mois min hanochri beribis. A Jewish person who borrowed money from a goy with interest, he has to pay the goy interest. So let's say he borrowed £100 and every week that goes past he has to pay him £1. And v'zok von olav b'milveh, and now 5 weeks went past, so he owes him £105, and they wrote a new document saying that the Jew owns a goy £105. Then his guy, and this goy became Jewish, converted to Judaism. Im koidem shenis guy zok von olav b'milveh, if they changed it, the loan, like to a full one loan of 105 before he became a ger. Goy v'esakar v'goy v'esaribis, so he has to pay the whole 105 back to this ger. If it happened that he was Zok von olav b'milveh only after he became Jewish, Zok von olav b'milveh, then Goy v'esakar, all he has to pay is the capital, like when you borrow money in interest from a Jew, you're not allowed to pay the interest. Goy v'esaribis, you don't pay the interest. And then says the Gemara, opposite case, a non-Jewish person who borrowed money, mois misrael beribis, for interest. The Zok von olav b'milveh, like we explained before, when he's Gaia and he became a get. If they made it into a new, like, fixed loan of how much he has to pay him together with the interest before he became a ger, he could claim everything. If only after he became a ger they did zok von olav b'milveh, he could claim the capital, but in a he doesn't take the ribis. Rabbi Yofi, if a goy borrowed money from a Jew for interest, doesn't matter when he was zok von olav b'milveh, goy v'esakar v'goy v'esaribis. This goy who converted has to pay everything, also the interest. Omar Rava, Omar Rav Chizda, Omar Rav Huna, Aloch Rabbi Yofi. The halacha of Rabbi Yofi, that goy who borrows, doesn't matter when zok von olav b'milveh, he has to pay everything, also the interest. Omar Rava, my time with the Rabbi Yofi. What's the reason? Because if after he becomes a ger, if zok von b'milveh only happened afterwards, he only has to pay the capital, people are going to say, you know why this guy became Jewish? Because he wanted to save the interest money that he borrowed, and therefore he became Jewish, and we don't want people to speak like that and say lies on this ger, so therefore we say he has to pay everything, also the interest. Reuven borrowed money from Shimon with interest. So we give a knas to Shimon. He can't claim not the capital and not the interest. They argue and they say he does have to pay the capital. Ribis doesn't have to pay the interest. What's the machlokes between Chachamim and Rameh? Rameh sova kansin and etera, the capital, that's etera. We put a knas on that mishum isura because he lent out money with interest. Rabbanon sarvi lo kansin and etera mishum isura. We don't put a knas on something that's mutter because of the interest that's awesome. Now also we learned over there shtari choiv amukdomim psulim. A loan that it said on it the date was Rosh Chodesh Nisan, but really the loan only happened a month later on Rosh Chodesh Iyar. Psulim, it's not good shtar. V'amuchorim, a loan that was the transaction, the loan was given on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and the only sign, the date in the sign in the contract's only Rosh Chodesh Iyar, a month late. Sherim, it's no problem, it's kosher. Says the Gemara, why are they possible? Very good, we can't claim from Nisan because the loan never happened yet. But the loan happened in a year. Let him use a star only from year onwards. Why do we say it's possible altogether? This Mishnah is a machlokes. Not everyone agree with it, and this is Shittas Rameh, who holds kansin and eter mishum isura because it did a star that's wrong on the wrong date. They wrote the star before the transaction happened. We punish him, and we say even from when the loan did happen, the star is no good. And then Chachamim argue on it, and they say from here you could use a star. Rabbi Yochanan, no. Afilu Tamer Rabbanon. This Mishnah could be Rabbanon, and why over here Rabbanon don't say that the shtar is good from Iyah. Gzera Shema Igva Mizman Rishon. We're choishish if we let him use it from Iyah, he might use it from Nisan. And therefore, and from Nisan, the transaction never happened yet. So therefore, Chachamim hold that we cancel the whole shtar whatsoever, that he shouldn't use it in the wrong manner. Au Gavra de Moshkin le Pardisa lechavre. This guy who gave a mashkin to his friend, the Bach says here, le'eser shani, for 10 years, and he had a loan. Ochlot lashoni, the malva ate in the field for 3 years, and then Omale, he told the loiva, imas binenlen miali, if you sell me this field to me, mutter, very nice. Ve'iloi, if you're not going to sell it to me, what I'm going to do, kafshinen lelishtora, I'm going to hide the shtar that it's a mashkanta that it shows that it doesn't really belong to me and it's just a mashkin by me. V'amina, and I'm going to say, lekuchei biyodi, I bought it off you. Or they're going to tell me where the shtar mechira. I say, I lost it and I have a chazaka, shalosh shonim. I was eating here fruit in the field. Ozal, so the loiva went, come akne lebek, and he was makne this field, his young son, that now this field doesn't belong to him anymore. And now he sold it to the malva that was forcing him to sell it to him. But really he's selling something that doesn't belong to him, it belonged to his child. Zvini vaday lo have zvini. For sure, sales didn't happen over here because the field doesn't belong to the loiva anymore, it belongs to his son. Zuzi, this money that the malva paid him for the field, kimilva b'shtar domu. Do we look at it like a milva in a shtar, and the din is v'goyvim in echosim mishubotim? And now, obviously, the malva paid for this field. He could get the money back from the loiva that he paid because it wasn't his field that he was selling him. So he could be toiver the loiva. Is it because the loiva wrote a shtar to the malva that he's selling it to him, and he wrote him achrayis nechosim? Do we say, okay, very good, the sale is nochal, but there's achrayis nechosim, and the malva could go to the field that the loiva sold later on and could take back what he owns him? Or dilma, or maybe kemilva al peh domu. It's like a milva al peh. All he can claim is from nechosim that the loiva actually has, but something that the loiva sold after this day that he sold it to the malva, this field that didn't belong to him, the malva could go and claim from those nechosim. And he can't claim from those nechosim if he's this tzad. I'm assuming on the base we're going to see why can't he? Omar Abaye. Isn't this case similar to Ravasi's case? Ravasi, what did Ravasi say in base on base? If we have a shtar that says Reuven owes Shimon £100, and Reuven admits that he really owes him, and it's a good shtar, Shimon doesn't have to go and find the Eidim who signed on the shtar to prove that it's a good shtar. We trust that it's a good shtar. The goyim in nechosim mishubadim, and he could go to nechosim mishubadim and claim the fields of them, or Reuven owes him. So also here, the loiva admits that he sold to the malva the field. So it's like moide b'shtar shekosvoi. So the very good, the sale's nochal because we know it wasn't his field; it belonged to his son. But he admits that the shtar he wrote it, and therefore the malva should be able to be goyva from nechosim mishubadim. What's the difference? Omali rova midomi. Is that comparison? Hosom over there by the case we just brought Nisan Kosev. It's a good shtar. The guy wrote it and he admits I wrote it, so we take on that it's okay and we let him be going from Nechosim Mishubodim. Hocha, by this case where the loive sold it, Loi Nisan Kosev, he wrote a sale that's not really his. It's not shtar that should have been written, so it's not good shtar. And also, he was forced to write it. He only did it because he was scared that the malva was going to steal the field. So he was forced to do it, and therefore it's not good shtar. He can't be going from the chosim mishubodim. And I heard that's a svara why he shouldn't be able to go from chosim mishubodim, because he was forced and he didn't want to do it. And also there was no transaction that really happened. Yossi Marema was sitting. He said this sugya, and he said what Rava said. This is what Rabbi Yochanan said, that the reason, what did Rabbi Yochanan say? That the reason why Shtori Amikdomim is Psulim is because we choishesh, if we let the malva use a shtar, he'll be goiva from the time that's written in the shtar that's before the transaction actually happened. Let's say, it's a false shtar, you shouldn't have written in the wrong date, and therefore it's not good shtar whatsoever, and you can't use it at all. And why are you saying that? The only reason is because we're saying the only reason is because he'll claim from the earlier time. Really, you should say it's not a good star whatsoever, and therefore you can't use a star. No, this is how you should put it. Hosom, over there when you wrote a star earlier when the transaction happened, it's incorrect to write it from Rosh Chodesh Nisan. But when the transaction happened in Rosh Chodesh Iyar, it's okay to write a star. And therefore the star is not, it's not b'mu'usoi wrong, it's just the wrong date, but the transaction happened. Over here, there was no sale. The loiva who sold this field to the Malva didn't really own this field, so there's no right at all to write this document, so this document has no value. What's the case of Shvach Karkois? They could claim it from the Shubadim or not. Aryeh goes al Sodom Michavero, so Reuven stole a field from Levi, and then he sold it to Shimon. And Shimon made this field better. Levi comes to Shimon and says, I'm taking my field back, it belongs to me. When Shimon comes to Reuven to be goiva, what he paid Reuven for the stolen field, Goyve Sakar in the capital that he paid for Minichosim Mishubadim, even from field that Reuven sold after this transaction. The Shvach, what he invested into the field, Goyve Minichosim Nichorim, only from Nichosim that Reuven owns now, but not that he has by him, not from stuff that he sold on. Also over there, when Reuven sold this field to Shimon with a star, it's a star shelo nisan likosev. Why not? Because it doesn't belong, this field doesn't belong to Reuven, so therefore we should say the star is cancelled. It's nothing. And if there's no star, how could Shimon be goyve the keren from Mishubadim? So the Gemara Hochi Ashosa, this is how you should put the Hosom over there by the case of a Gazlin. Ilon Lemandoma Nichele de Nikri Gazlin. Now there is a shitta that this Reuven's going to make all he can do to buy the field off Levi that it should become Shimon's. Why? Because he doesn't want that Shimon should call Reuven a Gazlin. You sold me a field that doesn't belong to you. So Reuven has an interest to be loyal to Shimon, and therefore, even though that the star was a false star, he's still the shibud on the money works. Or for the reason whether there's another shit over there, he doesn't want that Shimon shouldn't trust him. The first time is because he doesn't want Shimon to call him a Gazlan. The second time is that he wants Shimon to trust him. So he's going to do all he can to get this field off Levi. And once he buys off Levi, he becomes Shimon, as we learned early on, because he wants this transaction to go through, that Shimon shouldn't call him a Gazlan or should trust him. So therefore, even though he's a Gazlan and it's a field that doesn't belong to him, he's going to do all he can to make this transaction go through. Hacha, by the case over here of the Loiva, the Malva, with the Malva threatened the Loiva, and the whole reason why he did this is to get rid of him, and he shouldn't steal it off him. So does he want a good star for him? He doesn't want a star. If it'd be up to him, he'd never ever write him a star. The only reason why he wrote him a star was to get rid of him. They shouldn't bother him because he tried cheating him and stealing off the field of him. That was his only way out of it. And therefore the star has no value and you can't be goiva from the chosim meshubodim. Said the Mishnah, Ein poiskim ala peres achi yotza ashar. So we talk about this Mishnah like we spoke early on a forward contract. That means a contract that we pay now and we get the produce later. So you're not allowed to fix a price. You supply me fruit for the year for a certain price, until there's a fixed price in the market. If the price went to the fixed price now, a kilo of apples cost £1. I could come to my friend and tell him, here, take 12 pounds, and every month supply me a kilo of apples. Even if my friend who I gave him the money doesn't have apples whatsoever, he could take these 12 pounds and buy the apples right now in the shop for a kilo a pound. What's the case if my friend who I'm trying to do a deal with him, he was the first one to cut the wheat, and there's no fixed price, so I could agree with the seller if he has a pile of wheat on a certain price, even though that there's no fixed price in the market. So before we said you need a fixed price, that's talking about when the seller doesn't have the produce. But if the seller has a produce, even though that there's no fixed price, I could agree with him on it. And Ovid and Anovim is also a pile of grapes. Ovid is a place where they put the grapes. Maton shel zeisim, it's where you put the olives before you press them. Beitim shel yoitza, it's the balls of they're made of a clay that a person who does clay, a potter, uses to make clay out of it. So you could fix a price if he already has a clay. Even though that's not properly ready, the sid, since it's already in the oven, you could agree a price on it. On manure, you don't need that the person should have any time of the year. It's something easy to buy, and therefore any time of the year I could go to a friend of mine and tell him, here, take money, supply me manure during the year and take the money now. Rabbi Yossi says no. The Bach's Goris you can't agree a price on the manure, but only if there's no fixed price, the person has to have zevel to supply me now, and then he can keep it and give it to me later. But if he doesn't have in his bailus and his evel, you can't do it, he argues. And probably the Gemara is going to explain what's the difference between Tanakama and Chachomim. Now, when I come and do a forward contract with someone, and the price now, as we said, let's say of the apples is £1 a kilo. So I could tell the person that if the price goes down and the price will go 2 kilos for a pound, you'll have to supply me 2 kilos for each pound I gave you. And govoya means that you get more produce for a smaller amount of money. Rabbi Yehuda argues, he says, even if I agreed with my friend on the apples the price now is a kilo a pound, and I gave him 12 pounds to supply me every month with 1 kilo, and I never told him if the price goes down, he should supply me more. I could go to my friend when the price went down, and I could tell him, tell me, or you give me 2 kilos for the pound you owe me every month, or tell me, you know what, I want to get my money back. We didn't do a kinyan, there's no kinyan, and it's only mishapora, and because the price changed, there's no even mishapora. I want to get my money back, give me my pound back every month, and I'll buy 2 kilos now. So therefore, even if he didn't agree on that, he could put him in the corner and tell him, you give me the 2 kilos, or you give me the pound you owe me. And therefore, he could get the lower price. Omar Ravasi, Omar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yassi said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, you're not allowed to do a forward contract even if the price went out. Omar li Rabbi Ravasi, Zera asked Ravasi, Omar Rabbi Yochanan, did Rabbi Yochanan speak about afilu kedurmus hazeh, even if it's a fixed price? Omar Rabbi Yochanan, afilu kedurmus hazeh, did Rabbi Yochanan speak even in a case where it's a fixed price, where the main market, the main butcher has already a price for the things, for the items? Even in such a case, he said you can't agree on a forward contract. Rabbi Yochanan was talking about where when the price went out in a village, the market. That the price is not very fixed. But in a case where the price is very fixed, like in a big city, then for sure you're allowed to do it. You're allowed to do a forward contract. Says the Gemara, "Leman de salika daitin mikor lefi the hava amina." Domer Rabbi Yochanan afilu kedur musazeh. That Rabbi Yochanan was also talking about afilu when the price is fixed, like in the big city. Elo masnisin our Mishnah diktoni that it says ein poiskim ela peris achi yotzar shai. You're not allowed to do a forward contract until the fixed price. But yotzar shar poiskim echi mashkachas lo masnisin. What's pshat in the Mishnah doesn't fit in with Rabbi Yochanan lefi the hava amina. That Rabbi Yochanan spoke even about a proper fixed price. So the Gemara, Bechiti de Lobi ve'arbi de Moshich Tarei Tfei. Lefi the Hava Mina, the Mishnah is talking about only in a case where the wheat is coming out already. The achlobi means the warehouses, where all the people who own wheat are starting to open the warehouses and sell the wheat. And on the river, the boats are coming with the produce of wheat to sell, and therefore the market price is very fixed for a long time. And in such a case, it's mutter to do it. And Rabbi Yochanan said, when is it forbidden? If it's just a normal yotza ashar. But if it's proper yotza ashar, the Mishnah is talking about, where it's like proper fixed for a long time, then for sure you'd be allowed to do it. Ben Achinami, the Maskona, the Rabbi Yochanan only spoke about Yoris. The Mishnah is talking about not such a strong yotza ashar like Achlaboi and Arabi, even a normal yotza ashar of the big city. Tonu Rabbanon, we learned in Poiskim ala Peres Achi Yotza Ashar Poiskim Afal Pisha in Yesh Lezeh. So far, like we learned in the Mishnah, Oyu Chadoshis Me'arba, the fresh wheat you could buy for 1 coin, 4 kilos or 4 grams or amount of 4, and the new wheat is less dry, it's not as good. The Yishonois and the older wheat is Mishalois is more expensive. For 1 coin you could only get 3. In Poiskim, you can't agree on the nuance for the cheap price of 4 for let's say a pound, until they have a fixed price for both at the same price. Because if I agree with him and I take for the cheap price of the nuance for 4 for a pound, when he supplies them to me in the further in the year, they're going to be dry. So really he's supplying me something that now the price is higher, 3 for a pound. Why is he giving me the dry ones for the cheaper price? Because I gave him the money early. That's forbidden. Or you lekutos me'arba, if the people who collect from all different fields and they have the grains mixed, chita and shifo, and they're not like pure one type of grain. So for 1 coin you can get 4. And a person who has his own field, who gives you top produce of only wheat, only soy or whatever it is, misholosh, it's more expensive, 3 for a pound. In poiskim, so you can't agree with someone on the lower price until the price is fixed, the same price for both. Omar Rav Nachman, like we said before, Omar Rav Nachman argues and he says, poiskim lelekutos, I can't do a forward contract on the Lekutus price if someone's a balabais, but if I could do this forward contract with a Lekutus, someone who himself is the one who collects it from all different fields, and he himself normally has this cheaper produce, I'm allowed to agree with him, Kishar Lekutus, like the price of Lekutus, even though that's cheaper. Omale Rav Nachman, Rav asked Rav Nachman, Maishno loiket, why am I allowed to agree on a forward contract with the loiket, the less loiket, even if he won't have himself Yosef Milokut Chavrei, he'll borrow some from his friend who collects from all different fields. Balabais Nami Yosef Miloiket. Why can't I do this forward contract with a person who's a Balabais? He could also go and borrow from a Loiket if he doesn't have this cheaper produce. Omalei, so Rav Nachman told Rava, Balabais Zila Be Milsa. Balabais, it's embarrassing for him to ask a Loiket to borrow from him the cheaper produce, because he's a guy who has his own stuff, therefore he won't do it, and he's going to supply the better stuff, and therefore it's forbidden. So again, it's embarrassing for him to borrow from someone who collects. Another teretz, someone who pays balabais for wheat, a perish a period. It's understood that he's going to supply him with good grains, not mixed grains from all different fields, and therefore it's forbidden to do with balabais, because the balabais is going to supply for good grains, and he's only paying for the cheaper type of grains. Omar of Sheshus, Omar of Huna. Rav Sheshes said in the name of Huna, Ein loivi mal sharsha bashuk. Even though that we said that you could give a forward contract, I could give my friend 12 pounds to supply me a kilo every month, because now the price of apples is a kilo a pound. But to lend him money to say, take 12 pounds, pay me back in 5 months. If you don't have money to pay me back, supply me every month 1 kilo of apples, and now the price is £1 a kilo, but maybe later on the price is going to go up. So because it starts with alvo, it's forbidden to do that. Omar Rav Yosef bar Choma Rav Sheshes, V'armi Rav Yosef bar Abba Rav Sheshes, Umi Omar Rav Huna. Did Rav Huna say like what you just said? Well, boy, my name Rav Huna. They asked the Shaila to Rav Huna, and Ibnei Bei Rav. These Talmidim of Rav, the Azfi b'Tishrei, they borrow money in Tishrei, Upari b'Teves, and they pay back with produce, and they pay back on produce only later on in Teves. Shori also is a mutter, is it forbidden? Omar Lehu. So Rav Huna told them, Hochiti behini, v'hochiti b'shili. there is wheat in Hini and Chile. That's like places that there was markets and it's easy to buy produce over there. Boy, if they want, Zavnu Parle, with the money that they got alone, they could have bought the wheat and paid back, and it's no problem with ribis. So that's exactly the same case like before, that it starts from a loan and then you're paying back with produce, and we said it's forbidden, and over here we say it's mutter. What's the difference? Said the Gemara, Meikara Savar Ravuna, at the beginning Ravuna held, Ein Loivim. You're not allowed to do a forward sale with when it starts with a loan. Kevan the Shama Lahad Omar Shmuel Barchia Omar Abelazar. Since he heard what Reb Shmuel said, the son of Reb Chia, he said in the name of Rabbi Elazar that what the loivim, they even you're allowed to do it even if it starts with a loan. Omar Nami loivim. He changed his mind and he said that you're allowed to do it even with alva if it starts with alva and afterwards he's supplying him with produce. There's no problem, and he changed his mind. Shkoyach. Everyone should be very, very blessed with lots of atzlacha and lots of suras tovas.